So you guys have been requesting a review of this thermostat for quite a few years actually now, and I haven't gotten around to making a review. So here's my in-depth review on this thing. So this right here is the anycontroll AC213. Besides its name, it's actually a pretty cool device, especially for its price right now. It'll cost you roughly 600 Rand. I'm just rounding these numbers off from the top of my head, which is roughly about $45 to $50 I think right now. The build quality is pretty legit considering the price you're paying for this device. I mean, it's not super expensive, but all the features it has packed into this little thing just makes it worth the investment. This is definitely not a sponsored video. I did get this from the guys at Ultimate Exotics, but I bought it with my own cash. So the review is going to be 100% honest, and I'll tell you what I love and what I hate about this thing, because there are ups and downs to everything right here. I've had this fantastic little device for little over 2 years now, about 2.5 years, and it's run me steadily through everything. So it's a temperature controller as well as a timer. Here on the left you will have the source that will control the heat, and on the right you plug it in and that will control timing. So if you have a light switch that needs to go on and off, you can plug it in to this one right here on the right and get yourself going with that. So a pretty neat thing with this thing is when power goes out, it remembers all of its settings. That's a very important thing for me, especially here in Africa. We get this thing called load shedding, which basically sucks. It's when the government turns off your electricity deliberately, generally without your knowledge. So this may be a problem with other thermostats, but with this one it's not a huge issue. Although when it does go off, you'll have to reset the time again and again and again each time the power goes off, because this has to have a clock in it so it knows when's daytime, when it's nighttime, so it can dim the temperatures according to what time of day it is. Because you can set the day and night temperatures to be completely different things on this thermostat. Not many others can do that, especially for this budget price. This has a pretty accurate reading and can control temperatures from 0.1 degrees. So you can change even the slightest of temperatures in your enclosures and this thing will sort it out for you. It has a max load of 440 watts, and that's more than enough for 2-3 tanks or even more in some cases, depending on what wattage your heat pads and heat bulbs are. The maximum load for the timer, however, is 1100 watts. So that's pretty cool, but I have nothing that draws that much power that needs to be run on the timer. It's only lights, LED lights, which don't draw that much power, so that's not really a huge bonus for me particularly. The controlling range for this device is 0 to 50 degrees Celsius. There's probably a Fahrenheit version out there, but this is the South African version, I guess. Or the UK, I don't even know who has these plugs. Probably South Africa and the UK, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they make them for you guys too in the States. This is called a PID controller. Basically it's a fancy term for, I forget. I mean, it's a pretty confusing word. So it's basically the name for Proportional Integral Derivative Controller. For whatever that means, it sounds fancy, so I guess it's cool. Basically what this PID controller does is it reduces the current, which is the amps, to your heat pads. It reduces or increases the ampage, therefore increasing the heat or lowering the heat. It doesn't switch on and off like most other thermostats. It has that gradual change. This is especially nice if you have incandescent bulbs, which tend to not last so great on off and on switches. So like it switches on and off. So this one just reduces the ampage, giving your incandescent bulb a lot longer of a lifespan. So as I said, it's not an on off controller. So when the temperature reaches the desired temperature, it doesn't switch off. It reduces the amps or the current. It has an LCD screen with a real-time clock on it, but as I said, you have to reset it when the power goes out. So it's not satellite linked like your phone or anything like that. The display is pretty small. Basically, you don't need anything bigger, but it would be nice because then you can see different functions a lot better than this. The buttons. These wiggly things irritate me. They irritate the heck out of me. They feel like a cheap plastic kid's toy basically when you press them. They're just the weirdest feeling buttons. And then something I really dislike is the length of the probe. So the probe is what goes in the enclosure so you can control the temperatures. That's the little thing that reads the temperature. This thing is on the shortest little cable ever. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do with that, but I'm hanging this controller upside down in an undesired spot because this probe isn't long enough. Ideally, I would like at least a 2-meter long probe. This is about 70 centimeters, not ideal, and is a real pain. So anycontroll, please put longer probes on your thermostats. What even is this? It's like, ugh. Can't even use it. It's like horrible. Yeah, I intensely dislike the probes. It's just not ideal because it's so short. Otherwise, this has a clean look and you'll easily be able to attach this to your enclosures, although I don't know if that will be suitable because you're gonna have issues with your probe getting it to the desired spot in the enclosure, especially if your enclosure's a decent size for your snake. Or if you have multiple. Just this probe, like, it really irritates me. Why so short? Another thing is this has the most annoying beeping noise, especially if it's in your bedroom with your snakes or any other reptiles basically. This beeps when the temperature is not exactly what you set it. So if it's a bit of a cold day and the heat pads are struggling to get it to the temperature and this probe reads that it's not the right temperature, it'll beep and it won't stop. You can press buttons to make it stop, but then it just like starts again after 30 seconds. It's flippin' annoying and I can't figure out how to switch it off. I get that it may be nice, especially if you have a lot of these controllers, because then you can know which ones aren't really working, so lacquer or the heat pads aren't working. So it's a nice thing to have, especially if it's in a reptile room, but if it's in your bedroom, like, it's just flippin' annoying. It beeps all the time when your temperatures aren't correct. There's probably a way to fix that, but I haven't found it. I've read through the instructions and still haven't been able to find it. But the upside is the instructions are at least readable. They're not like some Chinese stuff that you have to encrypt with a Google Translate or whatever. But hey, whoever reads instructions? I would highly recommend it with this thing because it's pretty confusing to figure out at first, especially when the instructions say press the buttons and you gotta hold it in to change the settings. So in the manual it says press the set button and then change your temperatures from there, but I found you have to hold the button in for about 3 seconds and then you can go from there. When the LCD screen starts flashing, you can go through the menu system, navigating with up and down button, changing your temperatures and then clicking the set screen to go to a different setting, and then you click the save button to save it all, which is the bottom button right here. Bottom button. That's a weird mix of words. Otherwise, I really like this thermostat. No other issues there that I've found yet. It's been 2.5 years, so I'm pretty satisfied with buying this little temperature controller. Remember, there are 2 different ones on the Ultimate Exotic website for this. The one is the off and on switch, so it doesn't lower the ampage. Or not the ampage, but the amps. I don't know if ampage is the word. I think it is, but hey, now it is, I guess. You get what I'm saying. So the AC212 is the one that switches off and on your heat pads, and this one just lowers the amps. And this is the AC213. But yeah, I like it. It's worth the money. If you have the money, go invest in it. It'll save you a lot of time and stress, and you don't have to worry about the temperatures in your enclosure. It's a really cool little device. Looks good, minimalistic. I like it. You can set day and night temperatures differently, which is super important, I think, for recreating a natural habitat in your enclosures. Anyway, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Anyways, cheers guys. Prize from Righteous Reptiles. Remember to go out, learn, explore, inspire. Bye!